my name is LaQueena Mitchell. I also go by Queen. I am 26 years old and I currently live in South Korea.
Hello to everybody out there. I just wanted to give a little bit of a, insight into who I am, what I do, and why I do it. So I am Stan Thomas, and I am an English teacher teaching in Shanghai, China.
Konnichiwa! Welcome to Japan! Hello everyone, my name is Tsipporah the Explorer. I am from Los Angeles, California in USA, and I'm currently teaching in Japan. Today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about my experience as well as showing you around my school and what it's like teaching here. So let's go!
Teaching at a training center was quite interesting. I had never done that before. I had done enrichment programs and, like summer camps, things like that in America before I came overseas. But I had never been at, what is essentially, kind of like an after school program where the kids come and they learn English after their regular school day. So typically my day would begin at about 4, between 4 and 5 o'clock, and I would have about 1 or 2 classes, and they would end at about 8:30. So that was, it took a little bit of getting used to, especially because the day wasn't a 9 to 5 day.
This is my school. I teach at a high school. So I teach in Hyogo Prefecture, which is right outside of Osaka, Japan. The city is known as a sister city of apparently Detroit. So if that tells you something, I don't know. It's a little bit rough to Japanese people, but it feels a lot like home to me. So I really love living here. So I've been teaching in Japan for about 5.5 years, almost 6 years this summer. And I teach at a super science high school. Science rules. Kawaii! Oh! I teach English classes in science, and I also teach a global studies course where I teach a lot of variety of topics. For example, teaching about different countries, teaching about cross-cultural understanding. There's bowing is magic moving. Teaching about how to debate in English and poster presentation and all that. So I have a huge variety of classes that I teach, maybe like 7 or 8 different types, and it's just keeps the job exciting. And depending on the class, the English ability ranges. So with my global studies program students, their English level is very high. And as far as maybe the general class students, the English can be just okay or not so great. And then my science kids, the science program, their English tends to be higher as well. So it's a huge range of English abilities that I teach. And I teach all grade levels from first grader, second grader, and third grade. So all high school, which is high school is only 3 years in Japan.
I currently teach ESL, which is English as a second language. When you come to South Korea, you can get into EPIC, which is a big program where you can become a teacher here. But I extremely suggest applying directly to the school you want to go to, just because it's a little bit easier for you to get to know the school better. Right now, I teach at a school or a hagwon, which is like a private academy where I teach 5-year-olds, and there are no more than 10. I think at the most I've taught in any class setting is 12, but I also had an assistant teacher then as well. really getting along with your co-teacher or your assistant teacher is very helpful. There are some schools that you don't necessarily have that help. So those are the type of questions you should ask when you are interviewing for any position here in South Korea. But this is just for the hagwon, like private businesses.
So teaching is not what I went to school for. It was not what I originally had planned, but I can honestly say that I have enjoyed my time being away from America and teaching. So I've been overseas for about 11 or 12 years, and China's not the first place that I went. I have lived in Russia, South Korea, Colombia, and then I came to China. And I've been here for about 6 years now. My students know what to expect. I run my classroom, not with an iron fist or anything, but there are expectations that I have. And while I try to have fun, we have, you know, planned fun. We have organized fun. And, we don't take each other for granted. We don't disrespect each other. But we do have fun, and we do play. But again, there are certain things that my students know that I expect from them. And, so before class begins, they know that they are supposed to stand outside and wait to come in. There are two lines, one line for the girls, one line for the boys, and there is a line leader. And they know that they should follow the line leader's instructions until they see me. Then they come into the classroom. And we have a routine that we pretty much follow week in and week out at the beginning of the week. They could be learning any type of, literary skill or literary functioning in the latter part of the week. But on Mondays and Tuesdays, they know we have weekly evaluations. We go through vocabulary. Those are the first two things we do. I try to keep class discussions open-ended, and I give them their free time to talk to each other, work-related, but still talk to each other, and then give me their feedback and their opinions, and, just how they feel about, life, not just classwork. So I've built a good relationship with both my parents and my students, and I don't just look at it as just, they have fun in my class, and they tell me, teacher, Mr. Thomas, we like you. Or their parents say, Mr. Thomas, my child likes you. I don't just look at it like that. I also look at their learning performance and how they do on tests, how they are with classroom assignments and homework, and also how their skills, especially speaking, have improved, as far as classroom discussion and confidence level. I look at those things also. So I factor that into having a good time and, development as well.
I live on an island in South Korea named Jeju. Jeju is gorgeous. It's called the Hawaii of Korea. It is beautiful. It is amazing. It's definitely one of the best places I've lived. I wouldn't say it's taboo to discuss where I live. I live in the GEC, which is the Global Education City. It's an international community over here near the international schools on Jeju Island. It's beautiful. For me, it's almost like I went to a tiny spot on the island that's like America, just because the international community is so big here, and they help each other and they love on each other, and so that's what makes this area very special for me. Going out of this area, GEC area, more so in the city, you'll find some foreigners there as well. I do know when it comes to the Black population here, it's very small. So you'll take, there are Black people everywhere, but in Jeju, I would say there's maybe 15 of us. And I don't know if there could be more, but for as far as I know, and from what I've discussed with other women here, maybe there's 15 of us. However, we love each other. We help each other out. So this is what I mean by having an international community. My international community is based on my older sisters who help me and mentor me and things like that. And yeah.
The hardest thing about being a teacher in this country is just, it can be really frustrating when you see how the education system is really failing the students, and just really seeing the truth and how disorganized it can be, and how behind the times and technology things really are not effective. People are still using fax machines. Students this year just now received school emails. Like, it's the higher ups, they don't really care about the education process. They don't really care about the students learning and the students progressing. Yeah, it can be really, really frustrating and really tough, especially when the curriculum is just the same and it's not it's not really improving each year and getting better and being more beneficial to students. And just the English education all around is just not it. Like, the students, it's really hard for them to speak in English because of the way the education system is set up. It's not really designed for them to learn English. It's just designed for them to learn sentence patterns and grammar. It's not really designed for them to speak. And it's just really, really sad because these students are so smart and they're so brilliant and they're like little geniuses, but the system isn't honing in on that ability. And so that's why I'm here. I just try to do my best to getting them to speak more, giving them opportunities to speak to other students abroad, just whatever opportunities I can get and to share with them. That's why I'm here.
And you're dealing with kids whose level of English is better. And then being in Shanghai, the level of English, overall for Chinese people is much better because, let's just be honest, Shanghai is a more international city. So many of these children's parents do business with international people who speak English. So, their expectation is that their children will learn more English than they have been able to learn, you know, pretty much in school or on their own. So, you deal with some parents who, again, have a very, very high expectation for their children, but they really don't help their children put in that extra work. And for me, on this level, sometimes I feel like the parents put uh, too much emphasis on their children's studying, uh, and on the parents too, because some parents feel like, okay, well, my child has a problem or is not doing well in your class, then you're the teacher. This is your problem. This is not my problem. So you have to be able to deal with what's going on inside that parent's mind and, kind of push it to the side so that you can get to how you can benefit this child who is obviously in need of some attention and help, but does not really know how to verbalize that. But language barrier aside, I do have a team of people that I work with, and there are English language Chinese teachers who also work with the same set of students that I work with. So when there are problems, I try to involve them, when I have to, in order to speak to certain parents. And usually the Chinese English teachers, they're pretty good about, you know, being, being able to communicate with them about, problems and things like that. And they generally don't mind helping to deal with the parents. It's not always the case, but in my case, for the most part, I've had good Chinese, English teachers to work with. So, as I was saying, there are parents, many parents that I have who send in questions with their children, or they send me messages, or they're posting things and they want to know how their child did and what else their child can do, or if there's anything else that their child can try, and they're always interested in trying to help their child get better. And I appreciate them. And I also am very, very willing to communicate and give their child the things that they're asking for. But at the same time, I don't mind communicating with those parents who are a little bit more difficult, or, who are shy. Because for some of the parents, it's not even that they aren't trying to do it. It's that they are, in fact, in some ways like their child. Their English level is not good, or it's not as good as they think it should be. So they don't try because they don't want to feel embarrassed. But again, whatever the reason is, I don't mind talking to those parents whom I don't hear from. If there is a problem or a concern or anything like that. So I try to make sure there's always an open line of communication.
I would say the hardest thing about teaching in South Korea is knowing that you can get stuck here. And I won't say that's necessarily a good thing or necessarily a bad thing, but when it comes to teaching in South Korea, you can get very comfortable, and trying to, I guess, leave from this comfort can be difficult. But I know that teaching in South Korea is very book heavy. So I've actually grown fond of Montessori teaching, or in a holistic type of based program, because I strongly believe in a child learning how to do things independently. And I just feel like teaching in South Korea is basically just you telling this kid what they're supposed to think. I guess my experience at different schools too, when I was taught, it was, this is what's in the book, this is what you need to put. And I definitely, being brought up in America, it was like, hey, like, what about this? Or just having some type of dialogue. Even when I'm teaching my kids, and they ask me a question, I try to talk to them and get them to ask me questions. Maybe if you come here and you try to teach children, and from what you've been taught or from how you've been taught, it could be a little different.
And I would tell anybody this: I know why I came here. I know why I have gone to every country that I've been. So I'm not really worried about, making friends at work and, all these other things, that, some people get into. And also, I'm well aware of where I am, as in, I'm an American, I'm a Black American, but I'm not in America. and I'm well aware of how I was treated when I lived in America. So, I can also say that one of the reasons why I've chosen to stay overseas is because I'm actually treated better in other countries than I am in my own. You know, but it's also because I understand who I am. I know what I want. So in being around other cultures, I have respect for those cultures, but I also have to let them know that they have to respect me also. It's a two-way street. So, you know, wherever I go, I take me with me. I know who I am and I know what I want. So, I hope that people, when they do decide to travel, if they decide to travel, that they will, kind of keep those things in mind, especially if you're going to live somewhere else. You know, take you with you wherever you go. Learn how to communicate, because that is a problem that, people deal with just in general. And especially at work, I try not to get involved with the talking about other people, but that is a thing that happens. uh, People don't deal directly with people, and people don't communicate effectively when they need to. And I try to separate my feelings from what is professionally right, and professionally good, you know. So, there are people that I talk with after work. We chill and, we do things, but, you know, I try very hard. I don't talk about work when I'm not at work very often. And I definitely don't spend time talking about other people. I'd rather talk to that person. If I have a problem,
One thing's for sure, it is their hard work and discipline. Number one, hard work and discipline. Students will be coming to school when there's no classes, no school time, coming for club activities, working super hard in the summertime, during the spring vacation, coming to school, sitting down with their teachers, um, studying and working just super, super hard, and just what they call gaman, like gaman culture, like gambare, like good luck, working hard, never giving up. Culture is so, so, so strong here. Maybe too strong sometimes. I think more students need more rest sometimes. But yeah, definitely the hard work culture and just never giving up on your dreams is huge.
Now, when I say you're asking for these prices, or you are looking for this price range, you have to consider that these children that you're teaching require a good teacher. So you can't come to Korea and expect for a free ride and just getting all this money, because these kids actually need someone who cares for them. So because their parents, their guardians are paying this much money for you to teach them and care about them. So Korea is not just hey, I'm coming here for 5 seconds and I'm going to peace out. If you have a bachelor's, that's great. If you have a master's, that's even better. Just please don't come to South Korea and just play around with these kids. And because they're actually trying to learn English.
So how far does my salary go? Well, it goes as far as where I can buy this boy right here. Yes. No, I'm just playing. My salary goes really far. I should be more responsible with my money, but I'm not. I should budget more, but I don't. And I'm still able to save. Yeah, so basically with my salary, I get about, after taxes, it's maybe around 2,700 US dollars. And it's definitely way more adequate. I'm good, you know, I'm good. I don't have to worry about anything. My standard of living is super low. I live in subsidized housing, so I only pay $100 a month for my rent. It's wonderful. It's so sweet. What better can you ask for? And you know, like living and eating here, it's so affordable. You can get like a typical lunch set for like $5 to $7, and it's real good, healthy food. Ooh, so good. And as far as compared to like other teachers, my job as a ALT, assistant language teacher, because of the program that I'm on, the JET program, I actually am paid a little bit more than my co-workers who are actually real teachers. So I'm definitely very, very grateful for this opportunity, this chance, and this is why I've been able to live here for so long, because of the free food at my school. Yeah. And it's a very, very comfortable life, very comfortable living. Yeah, I'm very grateful for just my community of people around me and the friends I've made, and the cost of living. I don't think it will ever get this low ever in my life again.
Salary. You can go from, and it's not necessarily a good thing, I hate it, and if you ever come to Korea and you try to, and the job says 1.8 or 1.5, that's illegal. Don't do that, okay? So right now, currently, I get paid between 2.5 and 3. I'm not exactly allowed to say how much I get paid, but between that range. 2.5 to 2.9 or 3, you have room to save, you have room to spend, but there are also jobs on the lower end, which is like 2.2 to 2.5, which I feel like 2.2 is maybe the standard for some schools. A lot of schools will give you more, and it's based on your experience. So the more experience you have, the more you're likely to get paid more. But I know a lot of my sisters in the international schools, they get paid better, and that's because, you know, they're not necessarily teaching ESL, which is what I'm doing. They are, you know, masters in literature, masters in math, things like that. So you can get paid more. But if you just have a bachelor's and you're trying to come to South Korea with just a bachelor's, your pay range will be from 2.2 to about 2.9. And those 2.9 schools, those are including like housing stipends. So those type of things you need to consider as well.
So again, like I said, I don't get into all of that. I try to stay professional at work, and you know, then when work is over, I have fun. You know, there's a lot of great things to do and a lot of interesting things to see, not just around Shanghai, but in other cities around China. So, you know, I do try to take advantage of that when I can. And hopefully after this virus is, you know, passed, I can get back to doing more of those things, and then also performing in other cities again, and, you know, just in other places again. So, you know, I'm looking forward to that. But, you know, I have a life outside of work, and I have people that I, you know, converse with outside of work.
So what is there to do in this country when I'm not teaching? What is there not to do? Oh my gosh, like, there's so many things. Oh my god. Amen. Kawaii. I think I'll stick it on the back. I can't. Oh my. Look at that leg popping up. Got that.
There are so many different things you can do in South Korea, and oh my goodness. So I'll talk about Seoul a little bit. It's the city, you know, there's nightlife, which a lot of people really enjoy, but due to COVID, it's a little bit difficult to do those type of things recently. Before COVID, you can go out, you can do all kind of different things, you can visit museums. Seoul has great transportation, I mean, amazing transportation. You have your subway, you have your taxis, you have your buses. It's great. Those are just a couple of things. You can, like, museums, shopping, and wow, I did so many different things in Seoul that you just Google one thing and then a whole bunch of other things pop up in Seoul. So, but in Jeju, since I live here, I've gone hiking. I have enjoyed different types of cafes here. There are tons of cafes here. Fantastic views. I've gone to the beach. What else have I done? So many different things in Jeju Island, but it's basically it's all nature oriented. And that's what makes Jeju beautiful, you know?
Okay, so do I have any funny stories or anecdotes? So many. Like, it's hard to say because there are just so many. Like, literally every single day is a little funny story. Like, something's always happening, from kids teaching me like hood, like gangsta Japanese phrases, to like bonding with students over like super difficult, challenging classes like debate and how much we both hate it sometimes. Or in ESS, my English speaking society, which is basically English club. I do have a memory that sticks out when the students first saw me with my afro hair for the first time ever, because I never really wore it out to school before, and the way they described it was so freaking funny. I just remember one girl just described it as like a sexy king of nest, which is really funny. I've never heard my hair described that way, but especially the best description I've heard in a long time.
So I have a couple of stories, but I'll just say one because I think this one is more so applicable to my brothers and sisters out there, because I had a kid and who was about 4 years old, very sweet. She's so smart, so kind, but she hasn't seen anyone, especially in Jeju Island, she hasn't seen anyone that's not Korean. So when she touched my skin, she touched it she touched it really long and then looked at it. I'm not dirty. Oh Lord. So I had to explain to her, actually I explained to her a little, like, she said, "Why are you brown?" And I said, "Oh, because the sun loves me more." Just because she's 4, she's not going to be able to understand everything that comes out of my mouth about different types of races and ethnicities. So she was like, okay, and she accepted that. So just kids are just, you know, precious, and they have a lot of questions, and you know, there's a lot of things that happen to me like that, where a kid would touch me and I would be like, whoa, you can't touch me there, just because, you know, they don't see it often. So I'm sure a lot of other people have experienced this as well, at least with children. Adults, that's a whole different story.
So, is this a career? Being an ALT, I don't really see it as a career, just as a temporary thing. And it's really hard to get more advancement in pay. Yeah, I see it's very little room for advancement. And as far as pay goes, in order to get more pay, you would have to get like something like a setla or a master's in TESOL in order to be able to teach at like a university where you can get higher pay. But as far as like long-term career goes, you can live off of this pay, and people do it, but I think you really have to love the work environment. You really have to find a school that you can see yourself at, because it can be really tough sometimes. Just working on building your connections at work and outside of work. But as for me personally, I don't see it as a career, just as a temporary personal development and adventure time.
Okay, in my field, teaching English as a second language, ESL, there is no advancement. You can possibly become head teacher, but like I said before, you can get stuck here in this comfort zone. So you can't really move up once you're in this position. And I feel like as a boss, if I can be in my wajangni, in my boss's mind, wow, this person is so good at being a 5-year-old teacher, she should stay there. You understand?
And I appreciate the life that I have here, and I just appreciate what life has allowed me to be to other people, especially in this way, because as I said, this was not my first choice. This is not what I wanted to do when I went to college. But it is what happened, and I'm glad that it happened because I have learned more about the world and myself, in these past 11 to 12 years than I had ever learned before in all my years of being in school and being around people from, other countries.
Also, South Korea is a beautiful country, and the people here are very beautiful as well. There's definitely cultural differences. It depends, it just depends on the person and how open-minded you are. You can love Korea like I do, and or not. South Korea is a beautiful country. I've enjoyed my time here as a student. I've enjoyed my time here as an adult, as a teacher here. I am looking forward to opening my own business. I am looking forward to just staying here on Jeju. Jeju is somewhere where you can live long term. Hi, bye. Thank you so much for this interview. It was very nice to do this interview for everyone. You can find me on Instagram, Beat by Queen 1950. If you have any other questions, you can just shoot me a DM there. Or you can ask any of the other expats that's lived here as well, because a lot of us have different opinions. So mine is just one opinion, but there are a ton of different other opinions. My opinion is that South Korea can be a beautiful place for you to live as a teacher, but you have to take certain things into account as well. Okay? Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to learn more about my experience in Japan and my adventures, teaching at school, teaching outside of school, my travels, as well as maintaining my mental wellness in Japan, you can check out my YouTube channel, Tsipporah the Explorer, and I hope to see you soon on my next adventure. Thank you. Sayonara. Bye. Bye. Bye.